Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Russ and I drive my 2024 Subaru Forester Sport. I daily this car for almost 2 years now, and in this video I'll tell you all the reasons why I chose a Subaru Forester over Toyota RAV4. Even though going into this, I really want to end up in a Toyota. When choosing the perfect compact SUV for me and my family, winging it was not an option. So I did a lot of research, read the car magazines, forums, and of course I watched a ton of YouTube car reviews, simply because I didn't want to have regrets afterwards. Of course, ended up having some regrets anyways, but more on that later. But yeah, choosing between a Forester and RAV4 wasn't easy for me and created a serious dilemma for months on end because honestly, and yes, you might be surprised to hear this on this channel, but I was super biased towards Toyota at first and was almost certain I'd end up choosing it as my winner. I mean, the best-selling SUV in America slogan definitely caught my attention. It told me back then, oh, it means the market has spoken and done all the research for me. RAV4 is hands down the obvious best choice here. So I was like, why even look elsewhere, right? And of course, Toyota as a brand has legendary reputation for reliability, and of course that played into this. I wanted to love a RAV4 and buy it. And if I'm being honest, Subaru Forester at that point was just a due diligence play on my part, so I could tell myself later that I've at least considered all the best options on the table before I went ahead and purchased the Toyota RAV4. Besides, I was already sold on the way the RAV4 looks. And funny enough, back then, my wife and I both preferred the RAV4 styling over any other car in this segment. So then why am I not driving a RAV4 today? Well, because I began doing my own research and see what made more sense for me and my family, and this is where the idea of getting a RAV4 began to quickly fall apart. So let's first look at the price and value for money. When it comes to my price range, I was choosing between a Subaru Forester in Sport trim and a Toyota RAV4 in XLE trim with a gas-powered non-hybrid engines for both, obviously, since back in 2024, Subaru Forester didn't yet offer a hybrid on a Forester model. Price-wise, the MSRP on these cars in these particular trims was around $33,000, $34,000. No matter how you slice it here in Brooklyn, picking a RAV4 was a more expensive option back in 2024. Not by much, maybe $1,000 or so, but that was just to get the car in the trim you want before any extra optional features and add-ons. So I did an honest comparison of what I could get for my money when I simply looked at the Subaru Forester Sport trim versus Toyota RAV4 XLE trim. And here's when Subaru Forester began to make a lot more sense to me. When I began building my dream RAV4 right away, the Toyota website thingy said, hey, do you want all-wheel drive in your RAV4 XLE? And I remember my first reaction was like, wait, that's not standard? You have to pay for that? Yeah, guess what? You have to pay extra for all-wheel drive on a RAV4. I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was around $1,400 or so to get the all-wheel drive on the XLE trim, which was already a huge win for the Subaru Forester since, of course, that car comes standard with its symmetrical all-wheel drive across all of its trims, including the base trim. Then came the question of moonroof. On a RAV4, you have to pay extra money as well, and in the Forester, this feature is standard across every trim from premium and up. And not only is it standard, but it's also panoramic moonroof, not just a regular moonroof that you have an option to buy. Yes, to buy on a RAV4 XLE trim. Oh, and by the way, there's a huge difference between these moonroofs. Panoramic is the keyword here because it's like double the size of a regular moonroof on a RAV4 XLE, which is sadly not even included as standard on the XLE trim. So yeah, those two things right away when building these cars on Subaru and Toyota websites respectively definitely surprised me and disappointed me at the same time. And back then I remember thinking, wow, Toyota, guys, why are you being so greedy? Yes, you made the trim level prices very similar to Subaru, but then you charge people extra for the all-wheel drive and for the moonroof, and it comes out to like 3 grand extra just to get these features as add-ons to the XLE trim. So yeah, the common sense told me that, yeah, you can pay less and get these features on a Subaru. And here, of course, one could argue, do you absolutely need to have a roof or an all-wheel drive? And the answer to that is going to depend on who is buying this car, right? I'm sure someone living in a sunny place like Arizona might not need or want an all-wheel drive and be perfectly fine with a front-wheel drive car. Also, you might be the person for whom having a moonroof simply doesn't matter. But this wasn't the case for me since, yes, I do live in New York and we do get real winters in here. And I do travel in places across the Northeast, so having an all-wheel drive was a must. Something that became super apparent over the last 2 winters, driving over all the snow and slush here in New York. Subaru performed extremely well. So yeah, definitely wouldn't settle for a front-wheel drive car after that. And as for the moonroof, it's not as important to me as an all-wheel drive, obviously, but at the same time, the fact that Subaru gives you a panoramic moonroof as standard is simply incredible value for money. And yes, my daughter always asks for us to open it so she could see the sky. So not having to pay extra for this moonroof felt really good. Another point I have to make when it comes to money has to do with the insurance. When comparing Toyota RAV4 against the Subaru Forester, in terms of insurance quotes, Subaru was somehow $150 cheaper to insure per month when compared to RAV4. I have Geico here in Brooklyn, and I pay $220 a month for full coverage on my Subaru Forester. And my quote back then for RAV4, Mazda CX-5 as well as the Nissan Rogue was around $350 a month, which is obviously a big deal and a huge win for the Subaru. Honestly, not sure why this is the case because these cars were very similarly priced, but I guess Subaru drivers make less claims and drive better. Not sure. That's just my guess. Genuinely don't have an answer here, but I know that the quotes I was given for the other three cars were substantially more expensive, and that obviously also went into my decision making. So, despite all of this, Toyota RAV4 was still very much my favorite, and I was still not ready to give up on it because it had one thing going for it which I wish my Subaru Forester had, which in that case would have just made choosing a Subaru Forester as a very easy slam dunk decision. And no, I'm not referring to Toyota's slightly more powerful engine. In this case, I'm referring to Toyota's 8-speed automatic transmission, whereas the Subaru Forester only comes with a CVT. I honestly wish you could just opt in for some old bulletproof 6-speed automatic on a Forester instead, but sadly it doesn't work this way with a Subaru. So this was a major concern for me initially that made me cautious about choosing a Forester since Toyota's transmission seemed like an obvious better choice on paper in terms of reliability and drivability. So then I had to do a lot of research, and YouTube reviewers and online forums have kind of split here in terms of Subaru Foresters and its CVT, with like overwhelming conclusion that the CVT problems in Subarus were for the most part like a thing of the past, and that yes, normal driving you don't even notice it, since it drives and shifts like a regular automatic. Honestly, for me, this wasn't enough, and to put all my worries to the side, I had to do more research. I learned how the CVT operates, all the engineering behind it, and all the do's and don'ts in terms of maintenance and driving. And in the end, I concluded to myself that yes, this wasn't an ideal situation, but something I was willing to try to live with. Basically, like to put in perspective, it wasn't a deal breaker from the start, like say Nissan Rogue with its three-cylinder 1.5-liter turbo engine, where that alone just made me not want to even consider that car from the get-go. So then I was like, okay, yes, Forester has a CVT and all-wheel drive with panoramic moonroof standard, and Toyota's more expensive, but it has an automatic and a great reputation. And at that point, RAV4 was still very much in the game, so I was like, let me try and sit in one, and oh boy, I'm glad I decided to do that. Basically, I picked a day where I first went to a local Toyota dealership to sit inside a RAV4, and then I went straight into a Subaru dealership to sit inside a Forester. And this was the day my decision was pretty much made. As a toll driver, I was just simply not comfortable inside a RAV4. Like the element of the mid console that protrudes into the right knee area was literally hurting me. And I said to myself, wow, I can't wait to get out of this car. It's just so uncomfortable for me. Of course, I played with the seats and all the settings, but yeah. Also, the car I was in, it was an XLE without the moonroof, But even then, I was like, I'm surprised by how cramped this car feels. Everything felt small on the inside, and my head was almost touching the headliner, no matter how I played the seats, basically. So I was like, okay, let's look at everything else now. So yeah, obviously, everybody criticized Toyota for this, but oh my god, that infotainment display, that thing is so ugly. It looks cheap. I mean, it looks like a huge screen with like giant bezels, or rather, a huge display with giant bezels, and it just looks so old and silly, and it looks like it's been bolted on as an afterthought, and it just seems like so out of place stylistically, despite the overall somewhat beautiful looking design of the interior, I must admit. And then there were the materials. It just like felt rugged, but not in a good way, but more of like cost saving kind of rugged. Everything I touched just felt on like a cheaper side of what I expected the interior of this car, especially at this price range, to be. And like, I'm sorry if I'm being harsh, but this was my first time in a RAV4, and these were my first impressions. Not enough headroom, right leg that doesn't fit, cheap materials, and a weird looking infotainment system that looks like something your friend who mods cars put together in his garage. I mean, I wasn't impressed at all, but I'm like, okay, let's keep going. So I opened the rear door, and to my surprise, the door doesn't open. I mean, it opens, but not like 90 degrees like I expected it to open. I'm like, wow, that must be a mistake. Let me push a little harder. And I'm like, oh wow, it doesn't go. That's it. It doesn't go all the way to 90 degrees. So I was just like, wow, how am I supposed to load my daughter into a car seat every day? This isn't like convenient at all and not thought out. And the space for the rear passenger sitting behind myself was okay, but not like outstanding. The cargo space was big though, I gotta admit, very big. I understand why so many Uber drivers and taxi companies choose RAV4s. If you have to carry like people to the airport all day long, perfect for suitcases. This is definitely the car for you. And then I was like leaving the dealership. I already knew I wouldn't be happy buying a RAV4. I mean, I just couldn't imagine myself spending more than 20 minutes in that interior without wanting to get out. And I'm like, this is mainly due to the fact that I was severely uncomfortable with my right leg just not fitting right and constantly hitting the console. A little side note, I was in the car show, New York Car Show, a week ago. I was inside the brand new Toyota RAV4. Guess what? Same problem. I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm sitting inside, my leg doesn't fit. I'm like, what's going on here? Anyways, so I remember telling to the salesman at the Toyota dealership, I'm like, dude, I can't fit here. What's wrong? What's wrong with this? And the guy goes, without skipping a beat, he goes, well, for a big guy like you need a Grand Highlander. I'm like, yeah, nice, thanks. So basically, leaving the dealership at this point, my desire to still go for the RAV4 was just hanging on the notion that it looks good, that it has an automatic gearbox, proven reliability, and honestly, not much else. At that point, like, this whole blind date I had with the RAV4 went absolutely awful and not how I expected, and I did not want to return. And I even remember that on my way to a Subaru dealership, I was just like thinking, whoa, what if I don't like a Subaru Forester either? Like, what then? What options do I have? So then I get to the Subaru dealer where they had a Sport on the display, and wow, what a night and day difference that was. First of all, the interior of the Sport with its orange trim, which luckily they toned down a little bit on the orange trim after the 2022 redesign, because that was too much orange if you ask me. But anyways, this 2024 Subaru Forester orange interior looked amazing. It definitely looked and felt more premium than the RAV4. Anything I touched, it just felt better, like more expensive, kind of better. The steering wheel, the knobs, the console, everything just felt better to the touch and looked more premium. There was no ugly tablet placed in the middle. Instead, you had like this secondary screen, which was part of the whole console, and it still looks good to this day, and I love the way it looks. And of course, the biggest surprise, space. You get so much space in a Forester. If you are a tall driver, or if you have tall people in your car, pay attention, guys. This is important. If you are a tall driver, this is the car for you. I always joke around that it feels like I'm driving a school bus. Sitting inside a Forester, it felt like, honestly, like a breath of fresh air. My right leg was not touching or hitting anything. The front seats go back all the way that I could stretch out my legs. I mean, it's crazy. Um, Shockingly huge amount of legroom and headroom everywhere in the back, behind me, to the side. It just felt so roomy, and that alone just sold me immediately. I'm just like, I don't want to get out. I feel comfortable. I could sit in here for hours, and I do, never complaining about the space being an issue. Yeah, but then I opened the rear door and bam, almost 90 degrees. I was just like, yes, this is how it should be. This is what I was looking for. Somebody designed this for people with children. This is great. The windows are huge all around, so the visibility and like open air feel is what this car is all about. Then I noticed that the Subaru has like less cargo space behind the rear seats, which to me was okay because I'm not like an Uber driver, so the comfort of the passengers and my family was my top priority and still is. So yeah, I was sold on a Forester at that point, and then came the personal justification, so to speak, as to why I'm not making a mistake in getting a Forester, you know? So I looked at the safety ratings, no trade-offs there. Subaru is notoriously great when it comes to safety. I looked at the 5-year resale value, and Toyota is indeed one of the best brands when it comes to retaining this resale value. But guess what? Subaru isn't that far behind. There's like 6 to 8% difference between them, with RAV4 winning and keeping more of its value after 5 years. But in real world, it's on like 2 to 3 grand that I'd be losing. So yeah, I'd rather be comfortable for the next 5 years and have a Subaru than have regrets and be uncomfortable, you know? So yeah, Subaru Forester has its CVT, which I wasn't completely sold on. But then I looked at the all-wheel drive system, and this is actually where the car really shines. And the whole philosophy of all-wheel drive on Subaru versus Toyota RAV4 just basically speaks to me. Basically, in a nutshell, Subaru's all-wheel drive is constantly engaged. All four wheels are constantly spinning and have power sent to them. They are proactive. It's always engaged. On Toyota, it's basically reactive. The car is driving in front wheel drive most of the time. When the car electronics send something, they send something bad or it's like slippery, that's when the rear engages. That creates all-wheel drive. So Subaru's all-wheel drive system is just better. And yeah, I never got stuck in this car. X mode is another thing that this car has. It's a dual function X mode on Subaru Forester Sport Trim. But yeah, just the philosophy of the all-wheel drive system on a Subaru, it just speaks to me, and I think it's a better system hands down. So in the end, guys, this is my story of how I ended up in a Subaru Forester, even though I wanted a RAV4. Yeah, wasn't planning to go this way, but this is how I ended up. No regrets so far, knock on wood. This car has been absolutely perfect and surprises me every day of how great and capable this car is. Nothing wrong with Toyota RAV4. If I was a little smaller, um, maybe I would have a different outlook about this car. I mean, still the all-wheel drive though, yeah, it's an issue. And it is more expensive to insure and own, at least for me. At least it was in 2024 here in New York. Of course, my message to you is to do your own research, be smart about it, try many cars, see what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and in the end, you might be surprised like me, where, like I said, I was pretty much set on getting a RAV4, but I ended up on a Forester, and I don't have any regrets about it. Oh, except one. Like I said at the top of the video, regrets. My main regret about this car is being cheap and not getting the optional package 24, because I didn't think I would need the music, I didn't think I would need the power lift gate, and I didn't think I would need a bigger infotainment screen. And I was wrong on that. So yeah, don't be like me. Try to predict which features you might need in the future and get those features in your car, because you might be stuck with that car for a while. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.